All right, we're sitting here with Jason Harmon, team lead at Keller Williams, FM team Inspire Realty. Did I say that the name right?
Pretty close. You got my name right.
Hey, awesome.
Why don't you say what is it officially then?
FM team of Keller Williams Inspire Realty.
Hey,
Because I'm the team leader. I'm not the team leader of Keller Williams. I'm the team leader of the team.
The FM
the
team.
leader of FM real estate team. Yeah. So
Awesome. Yes, we have a little bit.
Thank goodness I'm not the team leader of Keller Williams. That is a job. That is a job.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
So how many agents are worldwide in Keller Williams? I think it was like 18,000 or some crazy number, right?
It's way more than that, right?
No, it's times 10, 170,000.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Worldwide. Yeah.
Was way off.
It's an insane amount of agents.
You guys just recently achieved some milestone, didn't you? Was it locally or regionally or nationally that, you hit a bunch of high marks? Maybe you can tell us about that a little bit.
Nationally, so Keller Williams nationally took over the number one spot in units sold, total volume, and number of agents. They were always number one within number of agents, or not always, but have been recently. I think probably the last 5-6 years. I don't know exactly, but with last year they took over number one in closed units and total volume. And then locally in Fargo-Moorhead, we actually just took the number one spot from Park Company, who's been number one for 27 years.
Wow.
So we're 2 months now. For 2 months, we've been number one. So we'll see if that holds going into September. It's really close. I think year to date, we're about 2 million apart from each other.
There you go.
It's good. It's good, fun competition. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Yep. Raises everybody's level, right?
Well, it's definitely raised our level, so that's for sure.
So I know Keller Williams in particular puts a real big focus on education and mindset, and I didn't even realize when I first started working with you guys that I didn't put two and two together that Gary Keller, who wrote the Millionaire Real Estate Investor book, was a part of Keller Williams.
Oh, funny.
I didn't put two and two together. Obviously, that makes complete sense now.
When did you realize it? Did you realize it before or after?
No, a few months after I'd been working with you guys, and written offers. And then I saw the book and I was like, what? And I read the book and then I put two and two together. Hey, wait a minute.
That's too funny.
The dots connect now. So yeah.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about, the culture of education and what you guys put a real big emphasis on that at Keller Williams.
Can I tell you a funny story about that book?
Yeah, definitely.
So I think I mentioned this when we did that seminar in Fargo when you were one of the panelists. Really cool story about the book though, because I actually was I was trying to decide what I was going to do. So I started investing in real estate in 2005 or 2004. I bought a foreclosure, my first house that I lived in. 2005, I bought my first investment property, which was a single family home. We got it on contract for deed. My brother Dave, Dave? Dave Harmon?
Yeah.
Yeah. He gave me the hookup. So he hooked me up with a deal in North Fargo, a little $63,000 house.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I started to buy properties and I got to about 2009, 2010, a little bit before the 7-year itch where you hear a lot of people just sell everything. We say, screw this is too much of a headache. Yep. I decided I was going to sell everything. And I was super stressed out. I bought that Dilworth building that that is now doing great, but at the time it was a headache. Mm-hmm. And I went on a ski trip, and at the time I was kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my future career, with my life. And I went on a ski trip with my family, and I got this book, Millionaire Real Estate Investor, and I started to read it. And I read a story about, or in the book, Gary tells a story about how he missed an opportunity. Because he just wasn't on. He wasn't ready. He wasn't prepared. So he missed like a deal where he could have made like $100,000 on a condo in Florida, I believe.
I remember that story. Yeah.
Yeah. And at the same time that happened, like a month before that, I had missed out on I believe it was an eightplex in Grand Forks that I had been talking to the owner. Of course, I thought I was the only one that was talking to the owner. And I was like, this guy's not talking to anybody else. I'll get it eventually. And I just wasn't ready. And I probably missed out on immediately $200,000 of equity on that property because I didn't buy it for the price that I knew I could have gotten it for. Mm-hmm. He sold it to somebody else. Anyway, read this book, and I talked to my wife, and I said, either need to go 100% or just get out of it completely. And I said, I'm going 100% forward, and I'm just going to do the real estate thing. And over the next couple of years, I bought just a ton of properties, flipped a bunch of properties, and just dove into it 100%. But it was because of that book. And so that is really the main reason. Reading that book is one of the main reasons I decided to come to Keller Williams, because that book really changed my life. I thought, well, there's something to this, and I was right. There is something to it. So,
how have you felt that translates? Just the culture of education translates down to retaining agents and attracting agents to come work for the brokerage, and how important that is to agents looking to get into the game.
Oh, geez, it's the education piece of it. I don't know. I don't know that. I think once you get here, and if you actually partake in everything that if you engage in everything that Keller offers, which 90% of the agents don't, but if you do engage in everything that we offer for training and classes and education and coaching and mindset and all of the other things, it makes a huge impact and it changes lives. But a lot of agents will come in and either they already know everything, or they just don't engage. Period, because it's a part-time gig. And so the agents that come in and take all of the coaching and training and use it all, and are coachable. That's a big one, being coachable. Those are the agents that crush it in this business, really.
Yeah.
So as far as attracting talent, I think the culture, for sure. If you have a conversation with somebody, you say, "This is what we're all about." People are definitely attracted to that. But from outside, it's hard for people to see what we're all about from the outside.
And in the book, the first stage is to think like a millionaire, or think a million, or whatever, right? So I mean, it establishes right there how important that mindset is. And I think, like you said, when they offer that, all those services and extra benefits, if people take advantage of that, they will be successful, because we know as just inherently as real estate investors how important that mindset is. Just from books like Think and Grow Rich and all that kind of stuff, it's so crucial. So I think a lot of people just discount that and want to get right into the nuts and bolts and just start, doing the work, and forget that you have to prepare your mind to be able to withstand the daily rejection and all the ups and downs of the business, right? I mean, it's not all roses and rainbows selling real estate, right?
No, it is. It's a grind. Grindpodcast.com. No, it is a total grind, and I'll give you, like, actually yesterday was a really good day. I know you guys do your calls and you have your sheets that you fill out, all that stuff you're doing for your investment business. Yesterday for me was we're taking a class, Bold Business Objectives, a Life by Design, and the goal is to contact 20 people per day. So a contact can't be a voicemail, it can't be a text, can't be anything other than a voice-to-voice conversation where you have to ask that person if they're looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate. So Josh, are you looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate?
Always.
Anytime soon?
Hey.
How about you, Jack?
Oh, of course.
There's two.
There's two more. All right, I'm at 12 for the day.
Hey, 10% done.
Yeah, exactly. So,
if you were ever wondering too, is Jason just marked that on his paper?
Yeah, I did. So I'm at 12. No, I'm 60% done now. I was at 10 before I just asked you to. So, so yesterday actually, talking about the grind. Okay, so we talk about, I've got a team we have 10 agents in this class right now, and talk about power in numbers from a team perspective. The goal is 100 contacts per week per agent. So 10 times 100, that's 1,000 contacts per week that our team, if everybody on the team actually made their contacts, can you imagine what kind of impact that would make on our lives and the team?
There's no way you wouldn't do way more deals. Yeah, it's just
we'd probably quadruple the number of deals that we would do over the next 3 months if we were all hitting that. So, and for example, yesterday I did 20 contacts, and I was here until about 6:15 because my day is scattered between management and getting pulled this way and that way and everything. And I was trying to call all day long, and I was cleaning up an old account that we had and just going back through this account. So 20 contacts, I actually potentially got 10 pieces of business out of those 20 contacts yesterday.
Wow. Oh, wow.
I had a referral to Michigan. I have an agent meeting, so from an agent that moved up from Minneapolis that's just moved here a month ago, that was in our system from over a year ago. And he's considering being a real estate agent, so that's a good contact for me as a team leader, because I do a lot of recruiting. I had 3 appointments set. I had 3 warm leads that I handed off to agents from the team, and then a couple other. Oh, and then a lead. Actually, this is a funny story. My dentist called during my to reschedule an appointment when I was doing my lead gen, and so I said, well, since I got you on the phone, are you looking to buy, sell, or invest in real estate anytime in the near future? And I had a really fun conversation with the lady, and I said, so do you know of anybody else that I could ask? And she actually said, well, there's 2 other ladies here up front at the desk, and she said, would you like me to transfer you to them? And I said, sure, of course. So she transfers me to another lady. She's actually looking to sell,
Wow.
looking to buy potentially property kind of on the outskirts of Fargo in the $500,000 price range. And like,
wow.
Nice, very nice, very nice.
It just goes to show, like, if you just make the contacts, good stuff's going to come of it. And most people don't have the discipline to just religiously make that outreach, because it's uncomfortable. Because you're calling people and basically cold calling, and that's like the least fun thing for anybody to do. But unfortunately, that's what is the most productive thing almost on earth, as far as, buying, selling real estate.
Well, it's only for me. So honestly, like for me, it's only the least fun thing. Like getting started, like the first couple of dials, because once I actually get into my zone and get into a rhythm, I'm literally like, leave me alone. Like, get away from me. I'm calling, like, let me do my stuff. I'm on the phone. I'm jacked up, and I just want to go, because I've seen results from prospecting. Because I started, my first sales job was door-to-door sales, and I did door-to-door sales for 15 years. I mean, I've seen successful results for so long that I know it's all a numbers game, and I know it's going to work. And almost every single time I do a prospecting session, I get something out of it. So
yeah. And how much, when you're training new agents, or you get people that are just starting in real estate, have never possibly been in a sales career, how much pushback do you get on, you mean I have to just call people that don't know me, or, like have just a pure cold call? Like, how much pushback do you get from newer agents or unwilling?
Well, I don't get as much now as I used to, because part of my conversation that I have with people that are looking to get into the business is I tell them it's hard. It's really hard. Okay, imagine how hard you think it is. Okay, multiply that times 100. Okay, so it's hard. You're going to feel like you're running through mud for a year. You're not going to feel like you're getting where you're going to have put deals together. They're going to fall apart. You're going to put them together. You're going to fall apart. And they're not going to make any money, probably for the first 3 or 4 months. So since I started having those conversations, probably 6 months to 9 months ago, I really shifted how I handle like recruiting conversations. I don't have a lot of people call me back,
right?
But the people that do call me back have been really good. So they come in and they're coachable, and they understand, okay, this is what I need to do to be successful.
It's almost like you're trying to scare them off. And if it doesn't scare them away and they still have the drive to pursue it, then they've crossed that threshold.
If I don't scare them off right away, then they still come back and they say, yeah, I still want to do it. Like this sounds exactly what I want to do. Those are the people I want to work with.
Now, what would you say is the most desirable personality trait to be an agent as part of a team, or just even be successful as a real estate agent?
Oh, geez. Personality, I would say coachable.
Coachable.
It's probably the one word that I would use. Yeah.
Right. And what percentage of people that come to you would you say have that naturally, or is that something that, you can kind of train people into? I guess being coachable is by definition being trainable and coachable. So it's not really a natural personality trait, but I guess willingness to take criticism.
No.
No.
Okay. So I actually, this is interesting because we just had Dan Waldschmidt on our podcast. And his philosophy, if you listen to the one it's actually not released yet. It's coming out this Thursday.
Okay.
But his philosophy is that is it worth your time to try to change somebody's mindset and try to get them to be coachable, or coach them up to a level where they can perform, where they understand the vision for the team, or a lot of different mindset things. And what his take was is it's not as leaders, it's not necessarily our job, because when we're actually focused on those C players, the people that are going to leave anyway, and putting a ton of time and energy, we're missing out on time that we should be spending with our A and B players on our teams, where we can actually hyper focus on them and help them continue to grow their businesses and continue to build and make those B players turn into A players. And so he thought, people that aren't coachable or have a bad attitude, usually somebody that's not coachable has a bad attitude.
Mm-hmm.
You think of somebody because if you're not coachable, you already know everything. And if you already know everything, when somebody tries to tell you to do something, you're not going to want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, hey, we should pick up the phone and do our 20 contacts today. Well, I don't really like calling people. Okay, well, then you're not coachable. I don't really like doing that. Well, then from there it goes to, I'm not making any money. Okay, how many people are you calling a week? Well, I don't like picking up the phone. I don't like making calls. Well, there you go.
Line. Yeah, pretty straight line between the two.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. Yeah, so you're basically saying you don't try to change people. You just have to move on and find the people that are right from the start.
And I used to think I could change people. I used to think I could, and I think it's been a recent revelation for me. Is yeah, it's probably not going to happen. And maybe if I put enough time and energy and spend hundreds of hours coaching and training, maybe I can get this person to the point. But is that my job?
And
I don't know that it is.
And we're investors, right? And what's the ROI on that? Pretty low.
Exactly.
Versus spending it on somebody who's already coachable and will take minimal effort to get just improved.
Well, that's exactly what Dan said. I mean, it's similar. He didn't say use the ROI terminology, but that was his mindset. It's just like it's not your job, and it's a waste of your time. So overall, yeah. So
awesome.
Is that a guitar? Is that a guitar pick you're wearing, Beth?
Yeah, it's engraved in my kids' names. Yep.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it. Jack, you had a question?
I was curious as the follow-up. Let's say you find a person and it's just not the right time. Sometimes I find that it's the right time and the right message. Like it might not be the right time for this person, but in a follow-up conversation 6 months later, they might be receptive to have their mind right. Have you found that? Do you follow up, or what's the follow-up process regarding the recruitment?
For recruiting new agents?
Yeah.
I feel like, here's what I do actually, is I meet with a lot of people. And so what I do is I tell them, so I'll give an example of an agent that's actually on the team now. They had a situation where we interviewed, she was interested, and she really wanted to be an agent. She's like, I want to do this. I totally want to do this. I told her all the horrible stuff and how horrible being a real estate agent is and how you can't make any money and you're going to hate it. And she still wanted to do it. And then like a week later, she sent me a message or talked to me. I can't remember, but they had an issue where they couldn't actually finish building their house if she quit her job because they weren't going to have that income. And so I was like, well, okay. So I said, oh, that's too bad. Sorry. That's, get back to me when whenever the time is right after you get in your new home, etc. And I just marked it down. I think I wrote in the notes, building a house, won't be an agent, put her back in back in one of my other categories where maybe I'd follow up in a year or something. And she called me a couple days later and said, hey, we're putting our home on hold. I want to move forward.
Wow.
What's the next step? So that was I'm talking about the commitment there. Like somebody that would be willing to commit in that point to starting a new career, even though they have to put their new home build on hold for maybe 1 to 2 years so they could actually start their new career. That's a commitment.
Yeah, that's willingness to sacrifice in the short term to delay gratification for the long. I mean, that really does demonstrate a level that's tough to find.
So yeah, and if I find somebody that I have a conversation with and I say, holy, like these guys, this person is awesome. I really want to work with this person, but they're kind of on the fence. Those are the ones I'll actually put and follow up and put on a drip campaign. If it's somebody that I think is for sure, I wouldn't necessarily want on the team, but maybe they would still be a good agent, I'll actually refer them over to the market center, to the brokerage. And otherwise, if it's neither of those things, I just wait and see if they call me back. I don't actually even put a follow-up down because I don't necessarily, maybe I'll do a follow-up to see if they're looking to buy, sell, or invest, but
right. Because you necessarily don't want to chase them. You want them to demonstrate the motivation level to reach out to you again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people will.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, that's great. And a couple of questions about agents and investing. Why do you think it is that real estate agents are, they're involved in real estate transactions all the time, but a fairly small percentage actually invest in real estate themselves? Why do you think that is, even being around it all the time and seeing the benefits?
Good question. I think there's two sides of that. I think a lot of the agents don't have enough money. They don't make enough money. So they might know what they might want to invest in real estate, but maybe they're part-time agents and they're only making $20,000 to $30,000 to $40,000 per year as an agent, and they're working another part-time job. So maybe their total income is, let's say their total income is $40,000 a year. Well, you're not going to save and be able to save enough money to really start investing unless you're really creative and are doing some of the things you guys are doing. But not a lot of people are going to do that. The flip side of that is if you're somebody like me, who is so busy doing the day-to-day activities of real estate, you really hardly can find time to even do anything else because if you're what we call a mega agent who's actually out in production and ridiculously busy, it's really hard to find time to research investment properties and find the properties that you want to buy and go look at the properties because you're so busy buying and helping people buy and sell real estate. So I think that's a big part of it.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of room for growth locally at our local brokerage to educate people on investing in real estate. And I don't think we do a good enough job doing it. Obviously, we had a huge turnout when we did that MREI seminar. Yeah,
well, I just had lunch. I just came from lunch with a gentleman that was at that and said that pretty much sparked him to get started, and he was just really wanting to pick my brain. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, so it was, really got bought fully into the concept after being at that seminar. So definitely just so all the listeners know, I am. So I don't know how much you've had Lee on the show a couple times, right? Yep.
You had Lee on. So I met with Josh before probably 2 weeks before you guys bought your first. Did you guys buy your first one together? Or were you? No,
that was just me. Yep.
That was just you. So, and then you were talking about, hey, I was thinking about getting into real estate like 2 years ago. It's such a cool, I just love how you kind of came into our world. Like, hey, I'm thinking about investing in real estate. Like, how do I get started? What do I do? What do you think? What's the best approach, et cetera, et cetera. And then you met with Lee and the rest is history. Well, I think that's pretty neat.
Even smaller world piece of that is that I took a little class at your brother's house.
Oh, that's right.
Before I even did that. So, and then Lee came and spoke at that. And then, I had done your headshot as a photographer. So, I mean, it's just way too many coincidences for it not to work out.
I just think it's so cool that just like exactly like what you just said, how certain things line up in order for you probably would have been doing exactly what you're doing anyway, but how just the conversations lined up and meeting with the right people and reading the right books or doing the right things led you to what you're doing now, which is phenomenal.
Well, and then when I literally called on the Zillow listing, and then your face was the first one that was under, how it just auto-populates.
Oh, sure.
At the bottom of the list. You guys weren't even listing agents, just auto-populates, and you were the first number. And Lee had just been at this investing class like a few days earlier speaking. So it was really serendipity that I called you and you said, I'm going to send over my buyer's agent. It was Lee, who I just seen 2 days earlier. So, I mean, it was just very serendipity.
I love it.
Yeah, it was just great. So, and it was just,
I love it.
Off to the races from there.
Well, Jason, have you ever read the book, The Alchemist?
I haven't. I've heard of it.
Oh,
I think I might have. I might have it on my phone actually.
So the whole concept is that once you've decided your path or your why, the whole universe conspires to support you. So I always see when we say that it's serendipity or by chance, I don't think it's by chance anymore. I think in those situations when Josh was looking at Zillow, at that time, it's like when you buy a car for the first time. And now you realize everybody else around you is driving the same car.
your reticular activating system. That's your RAS, right?
Right.
Yeah, that's funny. So I bought a silver F-150 like 5-6 years ago, and I swear like every single person in Grand Forks had one, and I was super annoyed after that because I'm like, so every person all of a sudden has a F-150. So now this time I leased a brown F-150, and I'd never even seen one out there. And of course, now I see them all the time. I'm like, come on. There's not how many brown F-150s could there possibly be in production.
Exactly.
But I see them all over the place now. It's crazy. Yep.
So awesome. Well, I just wanted to kind of get your opinion as we kind of wrap things up here. You know, you see tons of transactions, and you have a much more global view of kind of the market, you know, locally and regionally than we probably do. What's your opinions on where things are headed as far as, you know, interest rates versus, you know, inventory, supply and demand, all that kind of stuff? How do you feel about the overall real estate market in our region?
Well, I think I was just talking to somebody yesterday about the Fargo-Moorhead area specifically, and how we have yet to really ever see a recession from so that as far back as I can think, you know, and maybe there wasn't in the 80s. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't gone back that far. I actually have, it's interesting side note. I have a book from a big red, it's about 2 feet wide and 3 feet long, from the late 70s, early 80s, from a realtor that had clippings of all of the houses from the newspaper. Oh, these houses were selling for like, for sale, $15,900, 123 Main Street, 4-bath, 3-bath. You guys would appreciate that.
Yeah, right. That's cool.
Talk about being to some perspective of time value of money. Mm-hmm. I mean, like, okay, well, if we buy these now, what's going to happen for 30, 40 years from now? They're probably going to be worth more. So over time, not a straight line up, but so I think inevitably, eventually, the market is going to shift a little bit. But I don't think we're going to see a sort of recession like we saw in the past, especially in Fargo-Moorhead area, because there's such conservative lending practices here that you don't see lenders. It's so hard to get a loan still. It's so hard to get approved for a loan. It's hard to get it to the closing table. I mean, deals fall apart all the time because of financing. So the reason why there was such a recession previously is because they were just giving loans to just anybody or anything. And so if people get into homes and they're able to afford the homes, we're probably not going to see a drastic shift. What I think we are seeing is we don't have as many buyers in the higher end market right now. There just aren't a lot. As of 2 weeks ago, there wasn't a single home in 2018 in Moorhead that had sold for over $500,000, the whole city. Oh, wow. In the whole year. And one just went under contract like 2 weeks ago. That was like $700,000, but that's the only one.
And maybe it's just my investing brain, but I always just immediately discount properties that in that price range because it's tough to rent out, and even if you're going to flip it, to find a buyer is so hard. So I don't even consider that market segment, as far as being an investor. But I mean, there are people that live in them and they want to sell them eventually. So you, as an agent, you have to deal with the realities of that. That must be some tough conversations sometimes when it comes time to list them.
Absolutely. Or when you have a listing and it's overpriced, but you might be overpriced by $50,000, and they might have purchased that home for $500,000, and they're trying to get $520 for it, and it's only worth $470.
Yeah.
And they only bought it 4 years ago, and they still owe $475 on it. Like, how do you have that conversation with your sellers? And part of it is doing the market research ahead of time, on knowing the scripts. Just like when you're calling for sale by owners, or people are calling you, what are the scripts to actually get them to move forward? It's very much similar to when you're working with clients. What are the scripts that you need to do in order to get a price reduction, or for the sellers to understand that, this is what it's worth. I'm not a magician. I can't make somebody pay $520,000 for your house that's worth $470,000.
And a lot of times listing agents will promise a higher number just to get the listing. And, that only hurts everybody in the long run. So I found that, having a really smart comparative market analysis, whatever you guys call it, the CMAs,
yep.
Having that really on the money is so crucial to getting things sold.
The CMAs that the technology spits out, unfortunately, they don't have a common sense factor. Mm-hmm. So a lot of times those aren't 100%. So the agent really has to put some common sense into, what are not only what is pending, what's closed, but also what is the competition? How long has the competition been on the market? What do the other houses have that this one doesn't have? Now, what's the overall market in the whole city doing? Mm-hmm. How many days on market are these homes sitting? And we're seeing we're gonna have a lot of sellers unhappy this winter. A lot of sellers in that 350 plus price range. There's gonna be some homes that aren't gonna be selling that have been on the market for a long time. So
that's really a sign of how important it is to price it right off the bat. I always see the listings that sit on the MLS for a long period of time, they almost get stale, and it's almost beating themselves up.
It's hard because as a listing agent, you are constantly trying to reinvent your listing and get it exposed to new people, different markets. And unfortunately, it feels at sometimes when you have a listing for 90 days or 120 days, you're kind of feeling like you're out of options. Mm-hmm. There's only so much that you can do sometimes in order to get a home sold. And sometimes, in my opinion, if I have a listing for 90 days and if I feel it's priced right, and the seller can't reduce their price, or they won't reduce their price, I think it's better for me just to fire myself and say, go hire somebody else and get it put back on as a new listing again and give it another shot with somebody else. Mm-hmm. It's probably not worth it for you to actually have your listing with me for 12 months.
Right.
If that listing's showing up 320 days on market, I feel like for me, I would rather say, go hire somebody else. And I'll move on to the next listing that I can actually sell.
At that point, a buyer's, it kind of gets a stink on it, where buyers almost stay away when they see something on that long anyway. So yeah, I think you're much better off taking it off the market for 30 days or whatever and kind of relaunching. Mm-hmm. Because that first week or two is so crucial.
Yep. And I'm personally, as far as like the lower end homes, I'm really, really I want to see a recession. I'd like to see a recession. It's going to probably be difficult for a lot of real estate agents, but it's not hard for us because we're on the phones every day. We're calling FSBOs, expireds. We're doing our prospecting, we're making our calls, but it'll not only will it weed out probably 200, 300 real estate agents that'll find different jobs. Yeah. But it's also going to give me as an investor the opportunity that I've been waiting for the last 5, 6, 7 years, where I felt like the market was pretty inflated. And then you guys came in and just did it anyway, which is pretty cool.
We didn't know any better.
Yeah, you didn't know any better. Exactly. I love it. You can't buy anything in this market, Josh. Everything's too expensive. Yeah, I just talked to somebody yesterday that said that same thing. And I actually always say, well, there's two guys in Fargo-Moorhead that are doing it right now, and they're finding deals all the time. So
let's figure out the price that works for you and offer that. That's basically the strategy in a nutshell.
Yeah. The deal of the decade comes along about once a week.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, well, I think we better wrap it up here. We're closing in on 45 minutes here. So, Jason, why don't you tell us, you guys host a podcast called The Grind as well. What was the URL for that?
Yeah, it's grindpodcast.com. Awesome. And Facebook, Grind Podcast US, and Instagram, same, Grind Podcast US. So it's about personal development, personal growth. It's just about the grind of being an entrepreneur, starting a business. We've had a couple of really cool. We've had you guys on a couple times, and we've had one or two other investors. Edna Keep. Do you know Edna? Have you ever heard that name? She's from Canada.
Yeah, I've heard the name.
She actually does. you guys should talk to her, see if you could get her on the show. She's great. So, but it's just a lot of different. We've had from anyone from, like Jeb Blunt, who's the author of numerous books, to a friend of mine that just has 6 kids, and I'm trying to get through the day-to-day struggles of trying to raise 6 kids. So it's really just about the goal is to really help people with their mindset, and to also be relatable and help them understand that everybody's going through it. Not a lot of people talk about how hard life can be, but everybody's going through it, and we just want to help. So
awesome. And if people want to reach out to you and work with your real estate team, what's the best way to reach out?
The best number is 701-491-9010.
Awesome. And you guys do you have a URL for your team as well?
Yeah, it's fmteam.com.
All right, there you go.
And then we also have, which we just launched, fmteamcommercial.com.
Oh, okay.
So that's our commercial side. We've got 4 commercial agents on our team that are going to be doing a lot more commercial stuff. So which is going to be more the investment related stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
perfect.
Yeah.
All right, Jason. Well, we can't thank you enough for joining us on the show today, and keep grinding, right?
Grind on, brothers.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.